Just like that, the market is back. How are we feeling today, guys?
Is the market back? I haven't had time to check yet, man.
GM, it's back. It's back.
So, I mean, we've been calling it for a little while that we were going to have the return of the market, and it does seem to be coming back. Found the bottom. My camera is blurry, so I'm going to have to turn it off and on here in a second. But brought Toshi on the live stream. Got almost 100 people in here already. We got Pyro and Outlast, 2 of the teams migrating with us. 22 teams next week, beginning on December 9th. Man, Chris, how are we feeling today?
Yo. Had a good holiday week. That was a long week. I don't know. It felt like it just lasted forever. But got some good work done. Have one of the biggest weeks in our company's history. And I guess kind of like maybe the industry's history as well, as these migrations really start to pick up. So feeling pretty good on my side. What's up, lads? How are we feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good as well, man. Adam was gone. How was Thanksgiving, man? Feeling okay? Feeling rested?
You know, it's like I never disconnect fully now, right? It's like impossible now. So still kind of working every day, but it's good to be with family and, you know, cold weather reset my brain, bro. Holy cow, man. I never thought 38 degrees could be so cold again, bro. Holy macaroni, man.
That's why you moved away.
You know the way it is. You guys in the warm weather guys like me, man. It's like it's nice to visit, but I can't imagine living up there and again. Like, no way, man.
Yeah,
How
absolutely.
north is it?
I mean, this is just like New Jersey,
Oh,
Pennsylvania.
okay. I thought you were
For
talking
me,
like
that's
Canada,
like I'm in
like-
Costa Rica, so this is like if I'm outside of
Oh.
t-shirts and shorts, it's cold weather.
Yeah, it's true though. As a Mexican, I totally understand.
Yeah, appreciate that. Well, I appreciate both of you for joining us. Also, taking the jump from Believe to Pump Fun in this inaugural group. Pump Fun has been very excited about what's going on here. We're very excited. Love to introduce. We have both the Pyro and Outlast teams. We'll begin with the Pyro team. We talked with Alex last week on Friday, so we get on his show. We turn the favor, and he's coming back, man. Alex, how are we feeling today?
Feeling good. Yeah, this is a little deja vu, right? Because we had you guys on our spaces on Friday to talk about this migration as well. But like you guys said, I mean, this is an exciting time for the whole industry, and certainly for Pyro. We're gearing up to kick off our migration to Pump Fun. We launched back in September on Believe, and so we're among those Believe projects moving over to Pump Fun, and we're going to be kicking that off on December 9th. So everything is in high gear over here, and definitely feeling excited. And just a quick shout out to Alec, who's also up here as a speaker. He is Pyro's ecosystem lead, so we've got both of us representing. But happy to be on here.
Awesome. Good to see
GM.
GM Alex. Do you have any words?
No, just really excited. I think that migration was like a tough thing, last cycle, but now you guys have really cracked it. We're really excited to join, the pump ecosystem. It makes a lot of sense for us. We'll go into the products for those that don't know about it later, but yeah, really excited and think it's a perfect fit.
Yeah, me as well. Who do we have here from the Outlast team? Also, GM, and welcome to the stage.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for hosting me. It's Shane here, founder of Outlast. And yeah, super stoked that you guys are hosting us, and super excited to dive into all the details. And yeah, this is history. So super stoked to be a part of it.
Yeah, man, it seemed like we timed the market pretty well. Found the bottom. We're going to be in the up. Seems like we'll be on the uptrend as the migrations take place. So really good timing overall. It's funny. We posted this. It's pinned up to the top. The announcement from the Migrate Fun account about announcing the 22 teams who are going to be migrating. We've had one team drop out already. But some interesting feedback and comments. The most common one that I saw, which I'd love to get both of your opinions, and we'll start with the Outlast team. I saw somebody respond and say, why migrate to Pump Fun? They said, well, you should be migrating away from Pump Fun. So Outlast, we'll start with you. Why migrate to Pump Fun from Believe, and for your own particular project? What are the reasons that makes this very attractive to the Outlast team?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, Believe really was they started this ICM movement, and they really led the charge. But unfortunately, as everyone knows, they really did fumble the bag. And, Ben Pasternak, I'm sure is a talented founder, a Web2 founder, but in terms of the crypto native kind of as a crypto founder, he really did not nurture the community. And as everyone knows, that crypto's community is the most important aspect in crypto. If you don't have a solid community, if you're not helping out, the people that believe in you, then you are essentially dead in the water. And Believe really, I'm very grateful for what they started, but Pump Fun, Elon really understands community. He really understands crypto. And I think that just based on the ecosystem and based on just the way that, Rain has been engaging with us, and just the way in which Pump Fun really, really encourages their founders and wants to support the ecosystem in which they built. It's just the right move. I think that anyone that is staying in Believe probably is making a bad decision. And so, yeah, we're just super stoked to migrate over and just really join an ecosystem in which everyone is helping each other, and everyone is essentially encouraging each other and trying to, gain as much exposure as possible. So That's kind of a fundamental reason. And yeah,
It's interesting hearing the different reasons of why people migrate. Bratoshi on the live stream says based take. So yeah, heard loud and clear over here. A good friend of the show, Bratoshi. Adam and I and Chris, we've talked about season close to 250 teams, maybe 300. Where's that feedback coming from?
Hey, someone's on mic at the moment.
Yeah.
I remember when I spoke with you guys had 1,000 and you guys have really grown.
Yeah. Hold on, what is this? I don't.
I think that might be.
Yeah, mute your mic for a second, man.
Are we back?
Yeah,
all right, we're back.
We're back. Yeah,
Yeah, it was weird.
I'm gonna put you down. It was MWeb. Drop down and come back in, man. I think it was you.
Cool. Yeah, so Adam, Chris, and I, we launched the platform in July among the rest of the team, and we talked to 250 teams or so. And we actually originally had built it for the reason of migrating, away from launch pads, owning your own kind of LP, and being independent. What we come to find out is for the majority of people, community is a really, really big, high interest, the socialization aspect of it, but also some of the responsibilities that come with being an independent founder, managing the LP, communicating with all the administrative processes, right? Building these relationships. For a lot of first and second time builders, that is a completely new world if you've not been in this industry for, many, many years. Adam, Chris, and I, we all joined the space in 2016. So we've been, we've seen, 3 different cycles. And for us, it's like, why would you not want your own LP? But for most people, when we came into the space, it was also quite terrifying, right? Trading on exchanges and operating on, these L1 blockchains and such. So I totally understand that reason. Alex, we'll pass it over to you from Pyro. Why migrate to Pump Fund, into a launchpad and into an ecosystem where the majority of, I guess you'd say non-Pump Fund builders think that you should be migrating out of Pump Fund or to some sort of independency?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, first, I sort of second everything that Outlast had to say about the unfortunate decline of the Believe ecosystem. Again, they were the first ICM launchpad, and they did do a lot to sort of bring ICM to Solana. They were great. When we first worked with them as well, they provided us with a small amount of seed funding and some good support on launch. But now the tides have shifted a great deal, right? And so we do agree with the general sense that it makes sense for projects to migrate away from Believe. And in terms of why we are interested in going to Pump Fund, in our case, it's very specific, right? This kind of does get into sort of who we are and what we do as a project, so I'll just touch on that, briefly now, but we can talk about that more later on. But, essentially we are a sponsorship platform, the first and only on-chain sponsorship platform for crypto native live streamers who have tokens that are tied to their streams. I think, as most of the listeners here know, that universe is really, really centered on Pump Fund. In fact, we have over 50 active live streamers on our platform. Every single one of them is a Pump Fund streamer. So that really factored into our thinking, because what we started to realize as we considered migrating away from Believe is that there's a huge opportunity for us in moving into the Pump Fund ecosystem. Obviously, what that creates right off the bat is alignment between us and Pump. We are already building all of this infrastructure to support Pump Fund's streamer ecosystem, which is really important to their overall strategy. But obviously, sort of a bit of a headwind if our token is on Believe or on some other platform, and so therefore there's kind of a competitive dynamic between us and Pump, much more synergistic if we are trading on Pump, and then our success actually generates more fees and more revenue for Pump as a platform. So it's opened up a lot of opportunities just to work more closely, more hand in glove with the Pump team, which is super helpful for us, and just to become more embedded in the Pump Fund ecosystem, which again is where pretty much all of our streamers are choosing to launch their tokens. So that was a key factor for us, and somewhat unique, but definitely made pump the very logical choice for Pyro.
Yeah, the opportunistic aspect of it, of a migration, is always one of the more fascinating components of it. When we migrated Tensorium to Agent Hustle, the rebranding aspect was almost the main priority outside of increased or better LP rewards. If you're in an OG pump fund pool, then you get no rewards. The idea of a value accrual or to gain some of the token treasury back was an interesting option, as well as a new chart, which a lot of people don't realize is a fresh start. And to the on-chain traders who don't look at anything outside of the on-chain activities, then to them it's a new token. And you get this revitalization of token holders who are incentivized to migrate because they think the token number will go up, migrations are bullish, and kind of all of these XYZ miscellaneous features. As both of you were speaking, I had here pulled up on the live stream some of the product. So I'd love to dive into a little bit of it, as I believe you guys are maybe the second or third Believe app builders who've been on this show, and Believe, right, in the ICM kind of market is newer. There's more of a focus on the product and the platform over the token, right? It's kind of like the tokenomics are applied on top of the project that you're building versus meme coins, where it's all just about speculation of the token. So up here on the live stream, I have the Outlast app. It's on my desktop, but I could see some kind of still shots here. It's a health and fitness app that talks about 6-week progression plans and different types of edge. So could you guys dive into a little bit of what the Outlast app is, and why build in the health and fitness industry inside of crypto that is increasingly a small market, or maybe even just an untapped industry with tokenization?
Yeah, so Outlast app actually is a essentially it's a gamified edging app helping guys last longer in bed, and also get off porn and just learn to be better lovers, better intimate lovers. And so initially we just launched as a regular Web2 consumer app, and had a pretty good launch. And I was at the time in communication with the Believe team, and heard kind of about internet capital markets as a way to generate more attention, and also generate revenue or generate fee, essentially kind of a way to raise capital without going the traditional VC route. And so I decided to launch as a Believe token. And I think the one interesting thing with Outlast is that it's it's a very well, and also crypto market, it's a very male dominated market. And so this app obviously is good for every single male, but especially for the crypto market, a lot of guys need this product. And so we actually had we onboarded a lot of crypto guys when we launched. And so I think it kind of was like the perfect almost mixture of memetics of like a meme token plus utility, because it was a real working product that had real revenue, but also had like this kind of memetic idea behind it, which is essentially edging. But like the true mission of the product is like way deeper, because it does help guys get off porn and helps get men essentially like desexualize their brain. And so like it kind of on the surface level has this like almost like hilarious mimetic type of meme coin type energy, but it's also like a real like utility as opposed to any other meme coin. And so that kind of was like, in my opinion, when I decided to go forward with this, I thought it was just the perfect like combination of both. But as I've progressed on this journey, we're expanding our products beyond just like sexual wellness. And so we're actually post migration, the app is pretty much complete. We're launching kind of, it's like an accountability app. So we're going to essentially be releasing apps that are centered around helping you become the best version of yourself in every domain of life. So that's health, fitness, wealth, every single aspect of life, because that's truly what my mission here on this earth is, to help people just become the best versions of themselves. So
So the chat says the variations of projects and products in the migration pool is wild as hell. I love this space. So how do you apply a token over incentivizing men, or I guess women, to not look at porn, and also maybe even help them, encourage them to go out and talk to women or men, depending on their sexual orientation, and and touch grass and stop being stuck at the computer when in fact maybe the token is what keeps them at the computer.
Yeah. So right now inside the Outlast app, so through using the app and going, we have like a 6-week progression course, and in challenges inside the app. So like 30-day no porn challenge, a bunch of different challenges. And by progressing through the app and completing challenges, you earn XP, which then you can redeem XP for Edge tokens. So that's kind of the first essentially tokenomics of the Edge token. And we'll have in the future, we're going to have like, events for just a little bit more like premier access to me and to other products and new releases and stuff, if you're a token holder above a certain amount. And so that's kind of the and I mean, I have a big vision for this, but not to go crazy right now.
So was No Nut November a big thing on the app?
Oh yeah.
I love it. Chris or Adam, you guys have any questions?
Are you there, Chris? Yeah.
Chris, you're on mute.
You're on mute, man.
Asked to myself, how many downloads are you seeing? How it seems like a lot of it is maybe just kind of like trust me, bro. Like I completed the 30-day no porn challenge. Like how many people are actually like kind of penalizing themselves? Maybe elaborate on like the actual journey of the users and what kind of like the actual performance KPIs look like.
Yeah. So we have so we're getting a few thousand downloads a month. And I think another thing, just to harken back on the whole like why go to Pump instead of going your own route, because scaling these consumer apps is a whole job in itself, and then plus being also very active on X, that's another whole job in itself. And so it's good to be able to like essentially have a platform in which we can really just use the existing infrastructure, and not have to worry about like the LP and all the complexities that comes with that. And so in terms of like the KPIs, we essentially we have a hard paywall, so we have a pretty extensive onboarding process, and then you get to a hard paywall, which we either have a $30 a year option or a $4 a week option. And we have about a 40 or we have about a 40% trial start, and then about like 40% of those people who trial start actually will go into the app and start using the app. And then from there, we have it, to get the data of like where people are. We're just now really figuring out like what the user progression is. And so because Apple is a little bit tricky in terms of getting user data, but we have some super power users that like are obsessed with the app and use it all the time. And then we also have users that will use the app a few times and not use it. And so we're really trying to figure out how to incentivize people to continue using the app. And that's kind of like my main focus right now, and also just onboarding more users into the app. But it really just depends. Like some users are just obsessed and literally like they'll send me emails and DM me asking when we're uploading new sessions and uploading new features and stuff. And they're really, really obsessed, and they're actually getting really good results. And you can, if you go on the app store, we have, over 300 reviews that are, we have like 4.7 total stars. So people love the app and people are obsessed with it, and it's actually providing real results. But in terms of, I'm right now, I would say that we have maybe like 20% of users are like power users, and then the rest kind of use the app a few times and stop using it. And that's kind of also a very, honestly, that to be very transparent, that is a big problem in the consumer app space is, retention. And so
100%.
yeah,
That
that's
you
something
guys
we're
have
trying
any
to figure out.
that you have any power users is actually like, okay, you have a product that actually works, because it's so difficult to get people to use, to not just drop something, immediately.
100%.
Which is interesting. Do you think the crypto layer has added anything to the app, or has it been a hindrance for you? What's been your general vibe and your kind of lessons learned building that out? Knowing kind of the Web 2 aspect as well as the Web 3. What's been your experience with that?
Yeah, I think and it's one of those things that I am trying to really, especially as I roll out new apps, and figure out like how to really, because this app really is like Web 2 focused, and it's like your typical people that you onboard through web, your TikTok and Instagram, those people aren't going to use the token aspect of it. And so trying to figure out like a way to incentivize crypto users to use the app and also use the token, because to be honest, a lot of people in crypto, like they don't care about the product, they just care about the token 2xing, 3xing, 5xing, 10xing, And so like I actually want to build tools that people actually want to use and use the tokens behind it. And so that's kind of like, I think for Outlast, most people don't use the edge to earn system, and that's just the truth. But I think with the new products that I'm releasing, like that is something I really want to tackle, because I'm actually going to be trying to release these for a crypto native audience. So like people that are actually like on, desktop as opposed to maybe their mobile phone, and really trying to figure out how to like implement the edge tokens and also like use the product and not just like, caring about where the token goes. So that's kind of like where my head's at. But right now for the Outlast product, the edging app, it's pretty separate.
Yep.
And not many people are using the edge to earn system.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, the edge to earn, is it even better, me earning a little bit of tokens kind of daily or weekly or whatever, or just kind of gamifying it where there's kind of a pot for once a week kind of,
Right.
spin wheel type of thing. It's difficult, but that's fun because you can actually play around with it a little bit. But it seems like definitely, and I think you have the right perspective. It's like, no, we have to get users, period, full stop. Crypto can be like maybe an add-on or an interest, for it to certainly enter the crypto space, which seems like a decent fit for it to just generate interest, right? But it's all about eyeballs and interest at the end of the day. Along with a functioning app, it's multiple things, right? But it's cool.
The only thing that probably gets more eyeballs and attention than crypto is porn. So it's kind of an interesting dilemma.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, we'll pass it over to Pyro. It is interesting. We're going to go kind of back and forth here over the next 30 minutes or so. Alex, while you were kind of talking, I had here pulled up on the live stream the Pyro website, and I was kind of just looking through it and browsing, and you have kind of multiple categories. You have join as a creator, sponsors, and creators. And what it's showing here is all of the Pump Fun streamers with their X account that's related, and then I guess their token underneath it shows like the amount that's burned. Can you explain kind of what's going on here with the tokenomics, and how are you onboarding these different creators to the platform? And what makes it attractive for them to be listed on Pyro?
Yeah, for sure. Happy to. So look, at the highest level, you're sort of describing those different categories that you're seeing. We have the creators page, we have the sponsors page. Pyro is a two-sided marketplace. So, we're really focused heavily on onboarding, two different core user types. One being streamers who, as I mentioned earlier, in most cases have launched or are planning to soon launch a token on Pump Fun, and then to stream from Pump Fun, and then maybe some other streaming channels as well. And they're looking for frankly a way to monetize their work and their activity. And then on the other side, of course, is the brands, which so far has mostly been Web3 native brands, but we can support really just about any brand that sees value in connecting with the audiences of our Pump Fun streamers. And so that's kind of the essence of what we do. And what makes us really unique, though, is that the mechanism through which sponsors on Pyro are able to sponsor streamers and then advertise their brand or their product on stream is actually by buying and burning those streamers' tokens. And that's kind of one of the main pain points in the creator capital market space, which is the term that's used to describe all of these tokenized live streams that we aim to solve when we launched Pyro. Is that you have all of these streamer tokens, and there's this general sense that this is a really cool thing. Now you can buy these tokens and have exposure to the success of your favorite streamer, or you can build a portfolio of streamers that you think are really cool. It's an awesome concept, but what's missing, if you kind of just look at the system that Pump Fun itself has created, is that once a streamer launches a token, there's really no built-in value accrual mechanism that connects the performance of the token to the success of that streamer. And so what Pyro does is we kind of add the crucial missing ingredient to the creator capital market space, because now you think about historically, well, how do live streamers in Web 2, or really just any content creator, how do they monetize primarily? It's through ads, right? It's by finding brands that want to sponsor their stream so that they can advertise to that streamer's audience. And through Pyro, when a brand sponsors a streamer, they are using right through our app. It's like one click to do this. So we've made it super simple. But when they sponsor the streamer under the hood, that sponsorship spend goes towards buying and burning the streamer's token, which accrues value to that entire token holder community, right? So now, if you look at a Pyro streamer, what you're looking at is a fundamentally different type of token than streamers who aren't using Pyro, because this is a token that's probably going to see more demand, more buy and burn activity, a supply sink tied to that streamer's growing popularity as sponsors bid to advertise on the stream. So that's the essence of Pyro. And in terms of the Pyro token itself, what our thinking was is that, first of all, I'm crypto native. We're a 3-person team, and we've all been in the space for a long time. So, if you are crypto native, it's very intuitive to think if you're going to launch a new project, that project should probably have a token. But more to the point for Pyros, we're taking the revenue that we generate on our platform. We take a small fee on every sponsorship on the Pyro platform, and we're pushing it towards buying back and burning the Pyro token. So we have our own value accrual mechanism of exactly the same type for the Pyro token. And what's really attractive, I think, for a lot of people who buy Pyro is that there is a general sense, irrespective of what the market is doing right now, there's this general sense that Web3 live streaming is here to stay, that it just makes sense for a bunch of reasons for live streamers to launch streams on Pump and to have their own token. It can really engage new audiences. It gives them a new source of income. And so if people believe in sort of the thesis that creator capital markets on Solana are going to be an important and fast growing industry, then what the Pyro token is, in a sense, is kind of a play on that industry as a whole. Instead of having to pick and choose streamers, Pyro is basically benefiting from just this growth in demand from sponsors, this growth in ad revenue for the Web3 streamer space overall. And so that's kind of one of the reasons that we wanted to have a token, is just to kind of give people an option to make a bet on this overall segment of Solana's internet capital markets, even if they don't want to get into the nitty gritty of picking specific streamers.
Yeah, as Chris would say on our stream, that we're a tokens industry. So you got to attach a token at the right time to every project, because that's what people want. So I want to walk through at least the live stream and what I see here. So there's people who are currently streaming, there's top streamers. It's cool that you guys are cutting clips into the streamers as well. So it looks like your guys' top creator is somebody called Niners, who has a few things going on their page. You see that there's a sponsor by ATM, there's a burn mechanism. top promoted tokens, and then as well as just some statistics of market cap and such. So if I understand this correctly, a sponsor is just any crypto token, doesn't have to be on the platform or not. They're just basically paying for advertisement. Is that what this is?
Yeah, so in that case, you can go to the sponsors tab that's on the top of the Pyro app and see sort of a full list of our sponsors. We have some featured sponsors up top, but ATM.day, I'm sure a lot of people who are on this spaces are familiar with them. They're a really popular analytics tool for meme coin traders, and Niners is a live streamer, a Pump Fund native live streamer who largely focuses on streaming his various trading and gambling and gaming endeavors live on Pump Fund. So there was a lot of synergy for ATM to sponsor them. And so if I think you mentioned maybe Niners is live now. So what you'll probably see is a banner that says shows ATM .day and they kind of has a call to action to go check them out that's on display on his stream. And the reason that it's there is because they came in, to the Pyro app and they, used that simple modal that we have in place to sponsor Niners by buying and burning his token. And maybe just one little aside, because I think it's fairly important to sort of how we work, is that it's an auction style marketplace and it is essentially permissionless. So if another competitor of ATM.day says, I want to get myself in front of Niners audience, all they have to do is come in and outbid ATM.day. So you had Niners page up, at one point, and you could see sort of the number of tokens that ATM.day had burned in order to sponsor Niners. So what we can expect, he's very popular. So I'm sure that at some point this week, some other brand is going to come in and outbid them and burn even more tokens, and so that'll benefit the performance of the Niners token and get them in front of Niners audience. So that's kind of the basic mechanism in terms of how we work.
Yeah, it is. That's interesting. Yeah, so instead of a typical advertisement where you're paying in dollars and it's going directly into their bank account, essentially the creator of the stream has a token supply that they've reserved, and then the sponsors coming in and buying on the market and burning that, which effectively raises the price and is the crypto version of taking direct payment.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And one thing that I'll add, because again, that's sort of the ideal, right? When we picture a future where the entire economy's moved on to Web3 and virtually every creator business has its own token. The ideal is that sponsorships would manifest themselves entirely through these token burns, and that would benefit both the creator and then all of their early backers, all the people who have been holding that creator's token. And that is how most of the activity on our marketplace works. But we do also have an option where that sponsorship spend for creators can be split between burning the creator's token and then the other half of the sponsorship spend being sent just as SOL to the creator's wallet. We found that that's super popular, particularly with sort of newer, younger creators who don't necessarily have a lot of capital and are kind of need that extra cash in order just to be able to keep trading or to be able to do whatever cool thing they want to do for their next stream. Having that bit of immediately usable operating cash is really valuable. So that is an option as well. But in both cases, the buy and burn mechanism is key, because of course that's what's going to engage those streamers, token holder communities, and ultimately make this a really attractive proposition for them.
And there's one final section on the creators page. It says top promoted tokens ranked by total Niners burned. So is this essentially just like a shill section for the creator to put tokens outside of the sponsored project?
Yeah, so I think what you're seeing is that on the app, we show, not just the leading sponsor, the one that's showing up on, for example, Niners live stream with the banner. We're showing the whole history. So, he's had past sponsors, and we not only accommodate brands who have a banner or logo that they want on stream, we also accommodate coin communities who might want to, promote their coins. So that's why you're kind of seeing this history of different bids. But those are visible on the Pyro app. So to some extent, if you sponsor someone once, you're going to have visibility indefinitely, but only the top sponsor for now is visible on the in-stream banner.
Got it. Chris or Adam, any questions?
Yeah, I think, I love that, buy and burn mechanism, but I also like the idea of the creator being able to just earn it directly. Because, you know, a lot of these guys hold, you know, they're not selling the supply. They can't really sell supply. So them being able to, you know, find ways to earn additional capital. I know we've talked about it a bunch. This is like for streamers and content creators in general, it's a big deal. So I just love the functionality you've built out. Really cool. I think we have Martin's got his hand up. What's up, Martin?
Yeah, I just wanted to give you like props on figuring out how to create buy pressure without it being like a crazy trading coin. Because by creating that sponsorship, it does create buy pressure for people that like, hey, look, like these guys are going to be sponsoring, so they'll be buying and burning. So you introduce a deflationary element to it as well. So you're solving like two problems in one. So I just wanted to give you respect on that because I didn't even think about the sponsorship side. Because if you have a sponsor and you want to outbid that sponsor, you pretty much got to buy and burn, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay, that's epic, dude. No, I'm going through your website right now because I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna sign up to see how it goes and just to go through it, you know. And I really think that little feature right there that you introduced, that's really cool, dude. Because like sponsors themselves don't. I think in this Web3 space, sponsors have an issue finding or connecting with, like, say, a project if they don't have like a TG and they're not like super active in it, or a Discord. But to do it this way, it's just so direct that it's epic. So yeah, hats off to you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, really appreciate that. And yeah, I agree. I mean, I think one of the other, you know, really crucial problems that we solve for the space, you know, as you said, is that we have all these independent streamers launching on Pump Fund, right? And a lot of these guys, they're really talented, but they don't necessarily have a network of, you know, advertisers, you know, that they can, you know, hit up on speed dial to start sponsoring them. And so, you know, there really is no other place that has been actively pulling together brands that want to sponsor Pump Fund native streamers. And so we have about 25 active sponsors on our platform, including, you know, close to a dozen, you know, really cool, really reputable brands that have marketing budget and that, you know, see this as, you know, the best possible way to connect with their target audiences. Because if they're Web3 brands in particular, what better than, you know, getting on streams that have predominantly crypto native users? So that's been, you know, another, you know, really valuable thing. And just touching briefly on your comments, which were spot on about the value accrual mechanism, you know, I just wanted to share one, you know, anecdote about, you know, the benefits that a particular, you know, one particular streamer saw that I thought is super cool and illustrative. One of our most popular streamers is Carl Vogel. He is a general partner at Six Man Ventures, which is one of the biggest venture capital firms, you know, focused on Solana. And he does a weekly live stream. He gets really cool people on his stream who he interviews. And by his calculation, he was saying that he's now seeing close to, you know, in some cases up to $1,000 worth of burns for every stream. So, you know, these brands come in and they kind of bid ahead of each weekly stream, and that $1,000 a week of burns is, by all accounts, had a really meaningful impact on his token's market cap. I believe it went from sort of high 5 figures to close to 200K after he started actively using Pyro. So yeah, I think that if you're a streamer and you're ambitious and you have a coin community that you want to support, this can be a really valuable tool for, you know, both improving the performance of your token and also just attracting a lot more people to be interested in your token and your stream.
Well, I also think that sponsors have an issue finding ways to get into this Web3 space without necessarily launching a token. Because I know a lot of companies that are in, say, Web2 or just say brick and mortar, they don't want to launch a token, but it'd be cool for them to sponsor someone that's a streamer in Web3 and get their foot in the door. And I feel like this is a good way to do it. So yeah, dude, it's cool.
Hey, Chris, any questions?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously spend more time in the streaming space than me and us. What do you think about the different approaches between someone like Pump Fund and maybe Bonk Fund, where Pump Fund owns the full vertical stack of all the streaming services, where Bonk Fund went more of like the partnering with Kick and trying to onboard users that way? You know, obviously owning a streaming platform is extremely cost intensive, right? It's very, very expensive to stream high quality data, live streams. And so how do you think that the kind of Web3 streaming wars are going to play out? Do you see it being more of a Pump Fund being able to kind of survive the storm? You see it more of like a Bonk Fund with the partnership and offloading the cost, but still having the feature rich availability? Or do you think like maybe one of the legacy players will just kind of come in and be one of the more dominant players? How do you see the landscape playing out between these different competitors?
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good question, because you're right. So Pump is the only token launchpad that is invested in actually creating in-app live streaming, so that you can go on Pump Fund the same way you would go on Kick and watch people stream. And I think that that's been super successful for them. It's kind of made them synonymous with live streamer tokens, and it has a really significant benefit in the sense that when people are on Pump to trade and to identify new tokens to trade, if there is a live stream that they can see right there on Pump, that will get people's attention. I've seen again and again when someone first launches a streaming token, they'll get hundreds of viewers on the stream, many of which are traders kind of sussing out, is this person any good? Are they serious? And so there is a really deep synergy there. So I think that in that sense, Pump absolutely made the right choice. That being said, it's going to take a long time, if ever, for Pump to catch up with the Twitches and the Kicks of the world. And one trend that we're seeing more and more of, which I think is very positive for really the entire space, including for Pump, is that a lot of Pump Fund streamers are now multi-streaming. So they'll continue to stream to Pump for the reasons that I mentioned earlier. It's a good way to kind of connect directly with the trading community, but they'll simultaneously broadcast that stream on Kick or Twitch or X. And honestly, that works out fantastically well, because they will get way, way higher viewership that way. The Pump still lags the legacy Web 2 platforms in terms of just average viewers for a given stream. So if you add in X or Twitch or so forth, you can 10x the number of people who are watching a stream at a given time. But you still have the Pump token, right? It's not like by streaming on Twitch, you're somehow now fragmenting your token holder community in any way, or cannibalizing something that would otherwise benefit token holders. Instead, what happens is that from a sponsor's perspective, on Pyro, they're just seeing higher viewership numbers, right? And the mechanism in order to sponsor that streamer, whether they're multi-streaming or solely streaming on Pump, is still to just buy and burn that streamer's one single Pump token. So we always encourage people to multi-stream, and I do think that that's kind of where things are going to go over time, is that Pump and any other platform that chooses to adopt Pump's model will continue to serve a really important purpose in being the place where the trading community and active token holders for a streamer go to watch a stream. But that multi-streaming is going to open up a whole new world in terms of just reaching much, much larger audiences, and that's only going to benefit the token. So I think that that's kind of where we're going to see everyone trend, and it's starting with Pump.
I thought that maybe this is just like me being more of a novice in the streaming world, but I thought multi-streaming was more of like a vision from people outside of the streaming industry, and everyone kind of inside the streaming industry that was pretty big kind of isn't really pro multi-streaming, because most of the money in streaming is based on the deal brand, and you can't really have an exclusive deal brand if you're multi-streaming. That's why they are maybe just on Kick or maybe just on Twitch, and then they kind of each have their own little kind of siloed communities, but that actually pays more than being available on all these other streaming platforms. So would be interesting to get a little bit more of your perspective on that view.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point, and I think that what you're describing is what the state of affairs looks like on the traditional Web 2 platforms, where those platforms are kind of trying to take ownership of core streamers. And for streamers on Kick or Twitch, as I understand it, they're effectively they have deals with those Web 2 platforms themselves and are getting a cut of ad revenue there. But if you're fundamentally a Web 3 native streamer, again, this is kind of the advantage of having a token. You can do so much with a token, and its utility can expand in so many different directions. So if your primary focus for your sponsorship spend is driving buy and burn action to a token, which you have a large stake in, and so you kind of benefit disproportionately from that as a streamer, then it kind of frees you up, because then all that the sponsor is thinking of, if you're thinking about a specific brand and it's kind of disintermediated by the platforms like Kick or Twitch, all the brand cares about is, I want to reach as many relevant potential users as possible through this sponsorship. So this essentially, what I'm describing might be kind of a unique benefit to being a crypto native streamer on Pyro. We can pretty much freely encourage our streamers to multi-stream across as many channels as possible to increase their reach, because all of that sponsorship spend is going to be channeled towards the token anyways. And that might be something that ultimately makes Web3, even more attractive to Web2 streamers who might feel a little bit constrained by deals with a specific platform and would love to be able to branch out. So I think that that's a disruption that's happening right now and is just going to continue.
I like that. I think it's super interesting. I think that I always thought that the tokenized streaming kind of platform makes a lot of sense, because right now you have like 1 or 2% of all streamers making 99% of all the revenue. And if you don't have any sponsorships, you don't make any money, right? But if you have some people coming in that are trading your token, or even just giving you a couple hundred viewers on Pump Fun, you're able to make a lot of money, or a decent amount of money, more than you would on any of the competing platforms. One thing that I didn't really understand when Pump Fun launched was you had this whole onboarding season of initial Pump Fun streamers, and they were like notoriously making a lot of money. Some of them made $100,000, couple $100,000 over the course of like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then plus their token and the revenue generation from the token volume and everything like that. So their fees were actually pretty significant for the short amount of time. But then it seemed like almost all of them just stopped streaming completely, all pretty much at the same time period. So why, if they were making such good money, did they just all decide to kind of completely stop streaming all pretty much at the same?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it gets to the heart of why Pyro exists, if you think about it. Because if all you have in terms of monetization as a streamer is just a token that you've launched on Pump, and you don't have a relationship with Pyro, and you don't have sponsors and so forth, then it's pretty predictable what your what your revenue flow is going to look like. You're going to make a lot of money on the first few days after launch, because that's when trading volume is highest. So you're going to make a lot in terms of creator fees. But if you don't have anything to keep people trading the token, right? And it doesn't matter if you have a successful stream. If you don't have something to incentivize people to keep buying and trading your token, the creator fees that you're benefiting from are going to trail off. The token price is going to trail off, and there's not going to be anything to sustain you. So with Pyro, you introduce that to the equation, and it becomes a more sustainable proposition, because now suddenly, if you're a trader, you can keep speculating on a streamer long after the initial launch if you're seeing that buy and burn activity from sponsors, and you're seeing that activity pick up, and you think that maybe they're undervalued because they continue to grow their audience. They're going to see even more sponsorship buy and burns, and so that not only can be sort of an additional source of revenue directly for the streamer, like we talked about earlier, but it makes the token valuable, and therefore continue to be tradable, which will keep the creator fee stream going as well. So I think, in a sense, Pyro did sort of evolve to address a very real and valid criticism of the Pump Fund model, which is the short-termism of kind of front-loading all of a creator's earnings into just those few days of launch, and then not having an incentive for them to keep going. I think the way to think about Pyro is that this industry is now starting to mature, and now there are on-chain tools and mechanisms in place to make these continue to be really attractive tokens to hold and trade long after launch, and to keep people streaming.
So for this last segment, I'd love to dive into user acquisition and then post-migration plan. So pass it off to Outlast. You have an interesting model. You have a token, right, that is highly speculative in the industry, but is also used as an incentive model for people to essentially stay offline or not look at porn. So how do you guys go about acquiring users to the application itself? And then is there a separate strategy to getting users to purchasing the token?
Yeah, definitely. It's essentially two different strategies. So for the Outlast app, we have an Instagram and we have TikTok. And so we run, like, right now we have about 6 accounts on TikTok that are pumping content. And then we have like our main Outlast Instagram page, which we collaborate with influencers, and we have also just regular content going out on that platform. And so we're essentially just onboarding regular Web2 consumers onto the Outlast app. And then in terms of the actual token and incentivizing people to buy the token, that is all done through X. And essentially it's by just kind of keeping people updated on, revenue metrics, new features, and kind of keeping people in the loop of what exactly is going on, plus just content that is kind of aligned with the brand. So, we've been putting out a little bit more content, essentially kind of getting people excited about being the best version of yourself. So kind of motivational type content. And so it's kind of two different strategies. And then in terms of like what we have coming up next with this new product, that is kind of where I think the merging of the two is really going to happen, because this new product is going to be it's going to be on your desktop. And so we will be promoting the app also on our Twitter. So it'll be like a mixture of, promoting the actual application. Like we're going to be essentially trying to get on board real crypto traders onto the app to actually use the app, as well as, and it's kind of like a symbiotic relationship with also promoting the token. And so that's kind of where we're going with that.
And then what is the strategy post-migration? Is Outlast thinking through any type of new product releases, any type of new tokenomic models, or any different types of marketing strategies post-migration?
Yeah. So post-migration is when we'll be releasing the new application that I was just mentioning. And then in terms of actual, essentially we're going to be posting a ton of content. I have like a bank of content that we're going to be releasing once we migrate and we have the new app out. And so just like stay tuned on what that is. And, we're constantly evolving and making better and better content. But if you see one of my pinned post of that like Outlast, kind of trailer, essentially the launch trailer of explaining what the app is and how we integrate the token, that went super mega viral, and we have a few of those ready to release once we launch the new app. And then in terms of upgraded tokenomics, I think really the main thing is just buybacks and using fees and revenue to buy back the token and lock supply. I have a ton of supply, and yeah, we'll just be continuing to do that. I have some ideas and plans for like real kind of tokenomics but that's a little bit going to be, I think, in the future, that I don't necessarily want to say right now. But I do have some really interesting ideas on how we really want to how we want to kind of implement and upgrade tokenomics. Like instead of it just being like a utility token, it really can be more equity based. But I'm not going to dive into that right now.
Save some stuff for later, bro. I love how you actually I mean, you really have one of these really awesome niches where you can have a shit ton of fun on TikTok, making content around your product. It's a really cool niche. So I actually haven't checked out your TikToks. Maybe I'll pop over there later today and check out what you're doing over there, because you have there's a lot of interesting, fun stuff you can do with your content for sure.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, gotta always save, as the people who all the Migrate Fund community are always looking for fun on the other side of the migration. That gives them some incentive to participate in the migration. So pass it off and ended up with Pyro. So same questions to you. What is the user acquisition strategy for the product versus the token holders? And then can wrap it up with what are the plans post migration for all of our speculators, investors, and potentially long-time holders?
Yeah, for sure. It's a great question. So in terms of user acquisition, as we mentioned earlier, Pyro has a two-sided marketplace, right? So we have two core user groups that kind of grow in tandem with each other, one being the live streamers who get sponsorships through our platform, and then the other being brands that sponsor live streamers to reach those streamers' audiences. And in terms of our acquisition strategy for live streamers, one of the reasons that we are so excited about migrating over to Pump is that, as I mentioned, the overwhelming majority, in fact, all of our active streamers on Pyro are Pump Fund native. They have tokens on Pump and they stream on Pump. So we've already had a really good relationship with the Pump team. Our ecosystem lead, Alec, has worked with Pump to help onboard a whole bunch of streamers from Web 2 to Pump Fund. And in so doing, he steered a good number of them towards Pyro in order to get sponsorships for their streams. And I think that once this migration is complete, we're going to now be part of the Pump Fund ecosystem. We're not going to be a Believe project that's kind of trying to maintain a good relationship with Pump while still kind of living on a competing platform. We're going to be part of their CCM ecosystem, which is something that they've been very outspoken about investing in heavily. And I believe that they've earmarked something like $100 million worth of Pump tokens to try to support the growth of creator capital markets on their platform. So I think that post-migration, what we're going to see is just a really meaningful acceleration in the growth of the number of streamers using our platform and the sort of the number of high-profile streamers using our platform. And I think that being able to work more closely with Pump as part of the Pump ecosystem is going to really help with that. And then on the sponsor side, I mean, we've experienced really, really strong demand from sponsors. I think as some people during the spaces have mentioned, there just are not that many ways for sponsors to directly engage with crypto native audiences. It's basically, crypto Twitter or bust in a lot of cases. And so we haven't had to work too hard to keep, attracting more sponsors because of the fact that we're offering, this unique way to access crypto natives. But what we're working on that I'm really excited about is that we are going to be rolling out a new feature where sponsors can start kind of using Pyro almost the same way that they might have previously used Google Ads or X. So instead of doing what they have to do right now, which is finding specific streamers that they want to sponsor, which requires learning about different streamers and doing some research to figure out who they want to back, they're going to be able to just set an advertising budget. And then we're working with a really close partner of ours called LiveSuite on an algorithm that will allow that ad spend to just be sort of automatically spread across kind of an optimal set of streamers for that particular sponsor's budget and goals. And so I think once that's in place, it's going to make the growth of the sponsor side just accelerate massively, because now we're kind of fully disintermediating ourselves from it. We're not going to need to kind of manually onboard people and educate them about our different streamers, which is a huge part of what we do now. We're just going to have people who can, in 3 clicks, effectively sponsor, 20 different streamers if, that's the best approach for them. And as that happens, I think that's going to make using Pyro way more lucrative for the streamers themselves. And so it'll kick off kind of a virtuous cycle. So that's sort of the essence of our, overall marketing strategy. And as I mentioned, I think that we're going to see a lot of that pick up after the Pump migration, both because we will be able to then work, very freely and closely with Pump, and then also because we just have a ton of really cool product upgrades. The one that I mentioned being one of them, but we have several others as well that are scheduled for right after that migration happens. So I think that's just going to accelerate, interest in what we're doing even more, and I think will set us up to just perform really well once the migration's over.
Yeah, well, we're honored to be working with both of you, assisting with the next chapter and journey of both of your evolutions of the product. As a team who's migrated our own project, I have to say that there's no better way to revitalize a community than a migration, because they have to actively participate, and then they love to see new things on the other side to keep the energy and interest high. We are 1 week away from the migration, so please, everyone who is in the crowd, make sure that you follow the Pyro and Outlast accounts. Make sure that you're staying tuned with their journey, as well as follow the Migrate Fun account for all of the upcoming migrations. 22 projects migrating here a week from today. More news will be coming out from the account, so please make sure that you're following along. Until then, everyone have a fun and safe Tuesday. Appreciate the Outlast and Pyro team, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks, guys.